Alright, tribe, 8:07 p.m. Philosophical discussion time. Jordan Peterson, love him or hate him. Although I would submit that one should at least be well schooled in his thoughts and arguments. And hopefully that would lead you to at least respect him, if not love him. Defines a monster as somebody who has a well-developed capacity for mayhem. I love that definition. A well-developed capacity for mayhem. Oh, Lord, that's poetry. It's poetry. And I want to explain this to you, why that's poetry. Because when you're a man like me, who's had the life that I've had, mayhem, regardless of the ethical guidelines, which side of the line of that mayhem I was on, I'm well versed in mayhem. Well versed in it, and I have derived much joy from causing and or being involved in mayhem at certain parts of my life. And I am a born-again Christian who realized that Christianity was severely lacking, that the grace is cheap without submitting yourself to the law, right? So I do my best to keep God's commandments, Yah's commandments. And I've had to explain to people, man, and some of y'all have met me and I've enjoyed it. Just had lunch today with an awesome brother. You know who you are. The Mexican food was good. I've had, people meet me in person, and I get a lot of questions, especially at like a Bible study or a church or something, and people just look at me and they're like, how are you a believer? Look at you. But, you're a believer? And I've always summed it up as that old me, old T, he still lives in my back pocket. And I pull him out when I need him. I don't like to need him. But when I need to participate in some mayhem, he's still right there. And I can put my hand on him in a heartbeat. Take him out of my pocket when I need him. And I think that's the thing to understand about being a monster is you need to be powerful. You need to be dangerous. You need to be forceful. And you need to temper all of that with restraint, with control. It's not enough to know how to dismantle somebody with your bare hands. What really brings power to the equation there is knowing that you could, but you don't, unless it's absolutely justified. I have had the blessing to train a lot of people in a lot of things in my day, and I have been in drips and drabs instructing some of the young men at our shop in certain aspects of hand-to-hand combat. And one young man, whom for the sake of his ego shall remain nameless, he and I have been going back and forth, and he is 15 years my junior. And every now and then he'll get a little mouthy. How's your back today? You want to play? Well, son, let me introduce you to the vagus nerve. We'll talk about it when you get up off the floor. Little things like that. So you should be a beast, right? There's nothing more terrifying than an absolute animal that is so powerful that you just look at that person and you know the only reason that you're not in a pile of mush on the ground is because they've chosen not to turn you into a pile of mush. A huge capacity for mayhem. And I bring this up in the guise of tribalism and the guise of team building and MAGs, mutual assistance groups. Something that Squid and I talked about in our most recent back porch shenanigans, the warrior versus farmer, pick a column. You know, and in the micro, most of us have to wear multiple hats. But I think a time is coming where it would be good to have a specialization in one or another. And on that warrior aspect of it, a capacity for mayhem, especially when you get past the age of 25 and your frontal cortex is fully developed, so you're not just a 17-year-old kid with a battle rifle making poor decisions, but you actually know how to lead, you know how to decimate, you understand strategy and tactics, physical and mental tactics, right? Do you know how dangerous that is? Powerful leadership and just absolute steadfast, unequivocal. When you say no, you mean no. When you say yes, you mean yes, and you have everything in the tank to back it up with. Nobody questions your authority because your capacity for mayhem is renowned. You're a monster, but you're a civilized monster. And that leash, the chains that you bind that monster in, the trick is that you're the only one with the key. You don't let anybody else unlock those chains, undo your bindings. You have to master your self-control over that monster that's inside of you. So that when you need that monster, when it's you engaged in hand-to-hand combat against 9 naval air pilots, Kingsville Naval Air Station, South Texas. That's a story for another time. Or you and 6 drunken college kids. Or you and dozens of other stories that y'all will never hear. You can go there. You can enact mayhem here on Earth. To the level of intensity that literally drops people's jaws. They stand there and go, do you know how often I've seen this face? Not bragging. Babe Ruth said it ain't bragging if you can do it. So I would encourage you to both feed your monster and adequately chain it. So that if you need to go there, I submit when you need to go there in your life. It may be one time in your life. And that monster in your back pocket is the difference between whether or not you're raped, or your children are abducted, or you're robbed at gunpoint, or your tribe is wiped out. You can unleash that beast and raise holy hell, scare the living piss out of somebody. I don't know why that resonates so strongly with me, but a capacity for mayhem. I feel it. The last thing I would add is know you and know the people around you. know them well. I know what it is that feeds their monster. I know what the shape of the key looks like that unlocks that monster. Not so that you can use it as a thumbscrew against them, but so that you recognize it. I'm not advocating that you're a monster all day, every day. I am advocating that you have the capacity for mayhem and the ability to go there all day, every day, for that one time when you will need it. Shalom.